Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, the true name of the Most High God and His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Christ. It's the brother Alazar Benoye, aka the Gorilla Hebrew, back with another Gangology. For the first, we just did the introduction, but for the first video of Gangology, the beginning of the Gangology 101 course, I would like to call it. I want to deal with the initiation process. That's how you get initiated into a gang. Your initiation process. Contextualizing a given historical background. Actually, before I even get into all that, the initiation, man, is a key and intricate part to entering the lifestyle. Very key and intricate part. How somebody fares in an initiation tells you a lot about that individual, and tells you a lot about what he's gonna have to offer your outfit. Speaking especially from being on the giving end more so than the receiving. Because you only receive it one time, but over the years you initiate several other, mostly younger individuals into the gang, just that whole event, it builds camaraderie. It builds a lot of camaraderie in all actuality and honesty. To give a nigga an ass whooping and to see him take that ass whooping because he wants to be a part of what you have in part laid the groundwork for. It speaks volumes. It's a hat tilting to you as somebody who's a forerunner before him in the gang, and it shows, it builds so much camaraderie, and to also see him fight, not only to see the individual take the hits but fight back, and it's actually an extension of love, as crazy as it may sound to people from the outside. But again, I'm making the comparison to the ancient cults and how they function, and things of that nature. And you could definitely see that with the ancient cults. Maybe they weren't also the initiation of always a physical battle, even though certain cults did have it. But every cult had you go through things with other individuals within the cult to build camaraderie. We see these in the modern day cults. They have these secret things that go on, and the fact that these individuals go through these secret initiations with one another, they build camaraderie towards each other because they are forced to relate to each other because they have both went through the same thing. But a lot of these different cults, again, their initiations are much more sinister. But even dealing with the other initiation, because getting jumped in is not the only form of initiation. Another very popular form of initiation is a drive-by shooting or killing of an enemy. That's nothing more than a blood sacrifice. Ancient cults did it. The cracker and his cults do it. Those are blood sacrifices to your idol, to your deity, to the cult that you're in. That's all it is. It's literally a blood sacrifice. Thousands of black men in America partake in blood sacrifices. When they want to get initiated into their gang, and the way they get initiated is by killing another black man, or any man for that matter. It's a blood sacrifice. That's exactly what it is. So we have to truly examine the occultic nature of gangs, and draw those parallels to ancient times, and show our people, look, you are not doing anything new. You're doing the same thing our people have been doing for thousands of years when our people departed from our true nationality, identity, and the ways of the Heavenly Father. You understand what I'm saying? Another form of initiation for females is getting sexed in, fucked in, trained in. Very popular way that a lot of females become members of gangs. And this is also nothing new. We see something called occultic prostitutes or temple harlots and prostitutes in ancient time. The Babylonian mystery cults had them. And basically what these young women would do was be forced to go into the temple and have sex with a random stranger for any amount of money that they were willing to give to be initiated into the cult. A lot of these female cults and these great mother goddess worship cults, all female members had to engage in some form of sacred occultic temple prostitution in order to be official initiates of the cult. Just like we see now with the gangs. A lot of times a girl gotta, get down with one or multiple members of the gang to become members of the actual gang. Now again, these aren't all the instances and cases. There are also other ways people become initiates, but I will say that bar none, that these three ways, the two I named for the men and the one for the women, are the most popular ways and the most general and most likely ways that, your average gang member is initiated into the gang. And again, it's all going back to the ancient mystery religions, systems, and cults that our people were forced into, or some of our people voluntarily went into after they departed from the ways of the Heavenly Father. So what we're doing is trying to encourage our people to stop partaking in this madness. Though the madness on the surface seems not like madness. Again, coming from my perspective and purpose why I wanted to become a gang member, all had to do with the fact that, it gave you an identity of who you were. You were taught to be a man, to stand up for something, to fight for your brothers and your comrades around you, and stand for your territory. That form of micro-tribalism is always attractive because, it's what your immediate eye could see and identify with. You can identify with these particular streets. You can identify with these particular individuals. So you will be willing to fight for these individuals as, one. All these different individuals coming to one common goal. So on the surface, it's natural. It's natural micro-tribalism that our people have always been into. But when you get deeper into the mechanics of how it functions and operates, you begin to see the wicked, ancient, occultic influences within it, and also the self-destructive, suicidal, homicidal, and genocidal nature of gangs and gang mentality and gang members. You see what I'm saying? And that's what we need to stay away from. The micro-tribalism, to a degree, is okay, but it needs to all be taken with a grain of salt and put it in total perspective. And we need to understand generally who we are as a nation. And we need to become more so nationalist than tribalist, kingdomist, or even micro-tribalist. You know what I'm saying? So those things have to be kept in mind. Again, on the flip side, we spoke about the fraternity. Same thing with fraternity initiations. They got to go through rush week, and they got to do all kind of weird shit, and they have to go through different things with the other so-called pledges or prospective fraternity members, as well as sorority members. And then after going through those, jumping through those hoops, going through that obstacle course to become an initiate into that fraternity with the other pledges that made it with you, that camaraderie is formed because you guys all relate to something, because you all went through the same process in order to become initiates. But it's all wicked, and especially what goes on in fraternities and sororities is really some weird shit. As far as the gangs go, a little jumping, even a little shooting, even though it really is a blood sacrifice and it's truly one of the most sinister things that one could actually partake in. On the surface, of course, it doesn't seem like that. It just seems like you riding on your enemies, not realizing that you are literally committing a blood sacrifice to whatever symbol or so whatever symbol your hood is. What you're doing is deifying your hood, and whatever symbols that go with it. For example, I was affiliated with the Hoovers. Now the Hoovers symbol would be the Houston Astros H, with the so-called 5-pointed star behind it. The Astros insignia. What happens is when you are an initiate into that gang or truly that cult, that particular symbol becomes a symbol of deification to you. You look at that symbol and you put so much into that, so you actually believe in that symbol. But you don't really believe in that symbol. You believe in what that symbol represents, which is a united front of young to old black men who are down for their brothers and their particular neighborhoods. And what's funny is when you take a look at how the cults have spread and how you have Los Angeles-based cults and Chicago-based cults primarily, or gangs rather, primarily that have spread out and influenced the whole country. Gangs from elsewhere who, independent, didn't really spread like the Crips, Bloods, your GDs, your Vice Lords, your Latin Kings, your Serenos and such. Gangs from elsewhere didn't spread like the ones from those two particular regions did. Reason for that is up for debate and speculation. But it's just funny to see that. But again, this is the whole, just dealing with the whole initiation process and the historical connection to the mystery cults, man. All our people are doing with this gang shit is micro-tribalism and ancient occultism, okay? But now the deity's just not as affluent and present, and our people don't even really realize the deity that's there, especially when you deal with ancient traditions, especially throughout, the Phoenicia or Canaan, over there in the Middle East, where you had our people and you have various so-called African peoples dwelling, and you had regional deities. Every region you went to had its own separate deity or deities, god or gods that governed that particular land. Israel, us being the ancient Israelites, the Black, Hispanic, Native American man here in North America, us being the ancient Israelites, our deity differed from all the other ones as having the idea of it, our deity being the Lord of all gods, being the chief of God, being the most high God. Not only that, but also not having an idol that represented him, as did the other regions round about Israel. So, you got to take that into consideration. But again, that regional deity thing is nothing new. That's ancient. Every region had a specific deity. Now we see that on a micro sense, with every neighborhood has a specific gang that lays claim to that. That specific gang has certain symbols in which it identifies with, and that is now the regional deity that our people are following in their various regions. Again, the Hoovers identifying with that H star, with that Astros insignia, governing that particular land. Again, starting in Los Angeles, but branching all over the United States. All over the United States. Not only then, you have the Rolling 60s. They identify with the Seattle Mariners. The Rolling 90s. They identify with the UNC Tar Heels. And the list, it goes on and on and on. With these gangs, but it's a lot of times, it's usually a sports a sports team that they identify with, but it's all that regional deity ideology that we got from the ancient times, okay? And we've been carrying over and replaying and reusing everywhere we went, and now it's actually the form of street gangs, street crime, unorganized and organized street gangs, as opposed to identifying as religious cults with a religious belief system and a god that niggas worship. But even though on the surface it's not that, ultimately it's the exact same thing.